Alright, hi guys. So this is Destiny at CJ again. Okay, today you're wondering what the hell are you up to again? That's a very good question. Basically, so I kind of posted on Reddit about, getting victims for roasting of their chapter submissions as a beta reader. And this is what I currently have, which kind of means that I'm going for an image change in the current moment because of my new series and whatever not. So I thought, since I was going to play the bad girl like the boss bitch, I might as well start it off with some good roasting online. Um, and then I got dissed on Reddit by some people who are narrow-minded and don't know how to take, good humor in good-natured sense and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure they're like 14 or something. Anyways, so like today we got a very 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 special anonymous submission. Not quite anonymous because like the links are kind of in the video description if you're on YouTube. So she's someone who requested a roasting session for beta reading her first chapter. Okay, so let me just give you a short introduction of who she is or he is, and also the story that I will be proofreading. Not really proofreading, beta reading today. So I got their files, I set the time and everything. Pretty sure they're from Britain. Okay, so for any of you guys who are also interested in actually having your chapters roasted by me, and I will try. So like I actually have a gig on Fiverr doing that. I don't know why. But anyways, this writer goes by the name of Time Lord Victorious on Wattpad. So for those of you on Twitch, if you want to know the link to the author's channel, she does it on Wattpad. He does it on Wattpad. I'm gonna use she for like obvious purposes because I have a feeling they might be a she. Okay, so they write on Wattpad, and they're actually a fantasy writer. So like the fantasy genre kind of thing, they are there, and they are actually venturing into sci-fi, which is kind of interesting because sci-fi is not as easy to write as many people think. And they are actually writing a new book on sci-fi, so it's currently work in progress, but they've only started writing for like maybe the past 2 3 years, which I would say is a very new writer, fairly new writer. I'm not looking at, writing techniques. I'm not going to be looking at any of the grammatical error or like the command of their language in this beta reading session because they are a fairly new writer, which also means that there is room for improvement and growth, and they probably have not figured out their style of writing as a writer. So it's kind of like a discovery developmental kind of journey, and I'm going to be okay, I'm not going to be lenient, but I will try to give a little bit more of a mm, feedback from someone who's been writing for like about 10 years or so. Yeah, so this is I'm not quite sure if this is a fan fiction submission because they write fan fictions, and trust me, fan fiction authors are probably one of the best authors I know. They are like the godly ones and the ones who don't know why they exist, and then they are readers, and then there are those like me struggling in between just to get to godhood. Right, so the story title that they've submitted is called Hiraeth. Please correct me if I'm wrong. A Chase Through Time. So the synopsis and the summary that they've submitted is actually two groups of extraordinary people on an ordinary day happen to be spending the time in the same little patch of woods. Both of them start the night as they always do with games and dinner and petty foods, nothing unusual. But as time goes on, they drift further away from their original hideout and closer together. And what happens when they meet? So, the synopsis is I would say doesn't give me much of an impression, doesn't really stand out, doesn't really tell me what's going on. For those of you who want to know how to write a good synopsis and a golden format for writing synopsis, especially for web novels, you can refer to some of my previous videos where I talked about it on creating a best-selling web novel idea. But in this case, the synopsis tells me that maybe this is some kind of either a friendship or a romance genre. So I don't have much information. I just know that it's a very slice of life-ish kind of thing. But because they are a fantasy and sci-fi author, I'm also expecting certain elements to come in. But this is a first chapter, so let's look forward to how this starts. I have their Google Docs. So let me just turn to it real quick. Right, so this is actually the profile on Wattpad. Those of you who want to see what's going on, you can actually check it out. So the doctor is the name, and this is their hashtag. So Time Lord Victorious. Links are in the video description on YouTube. Feel free to check them out. And let's get to the actual thing. Okay, so like for those of you who have not watched the beta reading stream highlights, I actually talked about how you can set up Google Docs for your beta readers. So this author actually gave me their chapter through Google Docs. And one thing I want to note is that I don't have the ability to edit, like add comments in there. I don't have the suggestion authority to add in comments, so that's fine. I will probably do like a short review slash personal write up for the author on Discord where they found me. But for now, I will just verbally read through this with a fresh pair of eyes because I've not seen this, so you are seeing the same thing as me for the very first time as a beta reader. So, some things to note as a beta reader: if you are a writer, please don't judge them based on their writing standards and quality and whatever not that you think you know better. Simply because every writer has a journey to go through, and it's nice and common courtesy and respect that you appreciate the author for what they do. So, yes, I will be roasting, but no, I will not be insulting in a toxic manner. So, there is a difference. I roast for the purpose of entertainment. That's about it. So it's not anything personal to the author. I will just look at the work objectively and try to actually give feedback that could be helpful to the current writer. So yeah, for those of you, I see you guys joining the stream. Thanks for joining. I am actually talking. Yes, you'd be surprised. It's not a writing stream because I kind of ended the writing stream earlier, and now I'm kind of like doing a beta reading stream. So I'll be probably continuing the writing one later. But anyways, let's get started. So yeah, so it starts off with an opening. Asher, Dante, come help me set up dinner. Zia yelled from the kitchen, her voice ringing through the whole cabin. Oh yeah, well this bastard shoved me while we were playing. I freaking lost because of him, Dante yelled back. He threw his controller at Asher, who dodged the throw. Okay, so this is just an opening. So as a beta reader, oh, Hakate, Irimanai. Hello there, you're on YouTube? You caught me on YouTube? Okay, yeah, hello. Right, so I'm just doing a beta stream, don't mind me. Feel free to drop any questions and leave the comments in the stream if you have any as a beta reader as well, like a viewer beta reader. The writer might check the stream, I don't know. Yeah, so okay, I was just saying that this opening is a very it's pretty common. So it doesn't start with once upon a time. It just goes straight into the action, which is good for capturing your reader's attention, especially for a first chapter. But I like to say that okay, the English command is good. However, the use of caps lock, it might be a little bit leaning towards the fan fiction side. So if this is going to be an official publication, I I would suggest toning that down a little bit because it feels like you're screaming at the reader, and I'm expecting something a little bit more than just a mundane thing and an everyday life kind of thing. I'm expecting like the world is ending, we need it now, get on the plane, Mr. President, that kind of thing. But the caps here is just like come freaking set up dinner, and then someone else is just pissed because they freaking lost and someone pushed them. So yeah, maybe tone this down a little bit. Okay, so with that, I'm just gonna continue. So, aye, you're too good at the game, Ashrafil. Right as Dante was about to respond, there was a knock at the main entrance. Okay, so someone go check who that is, Zia called out. Xavier jumped on the couch and ran to answer the door, tucking his phone into his pocket. He twisted the knob and opened the oak door. Selena! Xavier exclaimed while tackling the girl with a hug, who had been standing with her bags in her hands. Okay, at this point over here, I'm gonna assume that Zia is kind of like the mom or the older sis or someone who's basically the caretaker, which is okay because I did not have any character introduction. It's fine, but I still don't get a full picture over here. At this point, I'm still trying to fill in the puzzle and play with the whatever dots that I'm given to try and connect and make a picture like who is who, what kind of relationship do they have, and because some people who are reading this may not be exactly fluent at English, so Asher, I'm assuming it's a girl, and Selena, I'm assuming it's like a spelling variation of Selena with an S, so it's a female, I guess. So yeah, the girl tackling the bag. There is currently no character description, so I am thinking Dante as a hot-headed person, and I'm thinking of Asher as a little bit more of a playful person. So I have no idea at this point. This is just my opinions and like what I think about the story progression and who they are. So a general rule of thumb is that if you want to introduce something, you give it to the readers bit by pieces. The pace is slightly too fast because there is already how many characters? Okay, let's count. There's Zia, there's Dante, and then there's Asher. There is also someone at the door who is Selena. So there is like four characters introduced right off the bat, and I have no idea who any of these people are. So it's a little bit too much to take in for starting, like the first chapter. It could be done in a slightly more, I'd say, subtle manner in a sense. Yeah, that's just personal opinion. As a beta reader, I find it confusing. And then a new name here, Hey Xavier. Selena said, her lips stretching into a forced smile as she hugged him back. Xavier helped her carry her bags inside while the rest of the group rushed to meet her. So, okay, Xavier is a nickname, and while I'm not familiarized with the people over here, I'm already introduced to one more aspect of the character that I don't know yet. It feels very much like a dollhouse where you play with dolls and you name them, but you don't actually know them in detail as a person. So yeah. But from here, I can probably tell that when she has a forced smile and the group, it's like, wow, this is a bustling place, and maybe they don't have the best relationships. So I don't know why she has her bags over here or anything. Uh, yeah. So it leaves me with more questions than answers at this point. Okay, so I'm going to withhold all this for now and read on to see if I can find the answers in probably the next three paragraphs. So, oh wow, you're alive, Dante said as he walked over. Barely, she responded, rubbing at her dark, baggy eyes. Dante raised an eyebrow. When was the last time you slept? I don't even know. Come on, you need sleep and food, Dante said, reaching out to wrap his arm around her shoulders. But she took a step back and shook her head. Yeah, I'm gonna pause here for a while. So this is what we call a dialogue. Um, in this dialogue, I'd say, mm, the pace is slightly draggy in a sense that there is very much talking, very little action to support the tone of this talking. So I don't see much character development. It's just moving along the plot, and to actually get me as a reader hooked and involved in this chapter. I feel like this could be a little bit more well developed and paced out evenly so that we have a little bit of sneak peek into how these people are. Maybe you can slick like a description of how Dante looks like, or a description of what Selena was doing before she came. And yeah, so like the tension of that forced smile before this and the wrapping his arms around her shoulder and she took a step back. I'm kind of wondering what kind of relationship they have. Maybe a little bit more information to feed our curiosity over here can be handled to improve the liveliness of this chapter. Okay, so I'll just move on. We're almost done with page one. So this is like 1,000 words. So that's probably this build up is probably, let me see. So this build up is about 200 words, a good intro. But it's very lacking in details, so I have more questions than answers, and I am unable to relate to any character at this point of time. So let's see. So I'm fine, you guys go eat. I have a few things to do. Dante gave her a concerned look, his eyes narrowed and full of worry. He hadn't heard from her for weeks, and clearly something had happened during that period of time, okay? Selena, she brushed past him and walked up the stairs, heading towards the room she shared with Feyru. Okay, so there were four people, now there are five people, and then so I know it's kind of like a shared house or something where they are all roomies. So all without making a single sound, Selena threw her back onto the twin bed on the right side of the room. Her eyes swept over the room and she realized that her best friend had already unpacked her stuff neatly tucked into the closet and dresser. Okay, so at this point of time, I am thinking, maybe Selena is actually the main character. It's not Dante. Because over here, there's more description into Selena, what she does, who she is, and the people who are around her, together with the place that she lives in. So we know that her best friend has a name. It's called Feiru. And then we also know that they sleep in a twin bed. And we also know that her room is pretty small if it's like all the way on the right side. And then, there's not much space there because her best friend unpacked and it's stuffed into the closet and the dresser. So if there's a closet, there's a dresser, there's a twin bed on the right side. So it's probably not a very big room, right? So Selena let out a deep sigh, then started to unpack her stuff. 20 minutes later, all of her belongings had been put away and she was lying on her bed, her head propped up on one elbow, a book laid open in front of her, but she wasn't reading. She was too busy trying to figure out how the bloodline had found her last week. Oh. Alright, so over here we are introduced to another element of the story, which is the bloodline. So I'm starting to wonder because I have no information from the synopsis itself how this is going to play out. So what is the bloodline? Who is the bloodline? Is the bloodline an organization? Is the bloodline like a company, a business, a group, an enemy, a friend, something like this? We got questions now. So, Selena, can I come in? A gentle voice said from the door. A young woman perked up and saw another one of her close friends standing at the door, his bright blue eyes twinkling in the dim light. Okay, this was exactly what I actually needed up here, not down here. So, by the time you build up this 200 words, the reader might not have the attention span to continue reading the rest of it. Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Like, if you tried to remove all this and then just come in with the Selena's appearance at the door, that might work as well. So okay, then we'll continue. So, oh hey Rowan, she responded, closing her book. Okay, this is just page one. Let me count how many characters there are. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. About seven characters in just one page. Okay, so for the author, as a beta reader, I feel confused. I have not gotten invested in any of your characters, but already I am introduced to a bunch of new people. It's like putting poor little old me in a room of social events and being introduced to a bunch of people who smile at me, give me handshakes, tell me their name, and nothing for me to remember. I feel very overwhelmed. So yeah, okay, so let's try to recall all these people. So she greeted Rowan and Rowan smiled and sat at the edge of a bed. I haven't seen you in months. And Selena was like, I've been busy, she told him, sitting up, tucking her knees into her chest. I figured. So the pair sat in an uncomfortable silence until Rowan stood up, awkwardly rubbing the back of his head. I'll leave you to be. You seem tired. Selena was about to get up, but she kept her mouth shut and watched as he made his way out of the room. She opened her book again and began reading, but only a few minutes later she had fallen asleep, curled up with the side of her face pressed against the book. Alright, what I'll notice is that this writer has a very descriptive style of writing. But because they are not as experienced and writing is a journey with not many people to guide them, it's a little bit chunky. It's a little bit overwhelming in the front part, and it's not very well paced and well built in a sense that I can immediately get my attention into the story. I have to put in effort to give this a chance to say, nah, I'm passing in 6 seconds. So if I'm just basing on 6 seconds of reading time, it's probably not gonna make it into my library. I would put it back because I was unable to understand what this was all about. It wasn't captivating enough. The problem didn't appear as soon as I like it to be, and the characters were very flat. They were introduced as like, oh, hi, bye, and then you just move on to the next character. There are seven characters in the first part of this thing. So we have a line break. Let's see if it does any better after this in the next scene. Yeah, which is kind of like the second half of the chapter. So another pack of Uno cards went skidding across the floor once again. Slater, okay, this is character number 8. Slater lost the game. The group had been shouting back and forth across the campfire as they played for no less than 4 hours by this point, dark having fallen some time ago. To begin with, they had actually begun playing Monopoly with a set that Kia, okay, character number 9, had picked up at the library closest to them, but that had ended up far, far worse than the Uno games the previous week, and the entire board, bank, and bag of houses and various trees around them. So they sorted back to the more simple and slightly less violent card game. Okay, let me take a second to read this and let it sink in. Okay, so to put it in a way that makes it very clear, this description is the same like selling me everything but the thing that I want. It's like going online and shopping for a bunch of stuff because they're cheap, but not finding the one thing that I actually went there to find for. So, you're putting the cart before the horse in this place, in a sense that it's chunky to read, not easy to follow, not easy to understand. Certain parts over here seems a little bit less value added. Uh, in some case over here, shouting back and forth the campfire as they played for no less than 4 hours by this point, dark having fallen some time ago. This is a passive kind of way of telling, which makes the reader confused and a little bit lost when you put the information that should come first to give a zoom in picture. You're giving more like a zoom out picture when it's not exactly necessary over here. It's like zooming out from a toilet bowl just to show that this is a toilet bowl instead of zooming in the toilet bowl and saying that, hey, this is shit. Actually, that description is kind of funny, but yeah, if you understand what I mean, it's dark having fallen some time ago should come first. And then the group has been shouting back and forth the campfire is third because they've been playing for no less than 4 hours should be second. So like a chronological order would be easier for the poor readers who don't currently know what's going on because your scene just started and Slater lost the game of Uno. So we want to actually give a introduction background to what this Uno is, when this Uno started, why this Uno is all about. So this paragraph itself makes me a little bit lost, if not a lot of lost. So yeah, so basically they're fighting over Uno again. So you jinxed it, I know you did. Slater whined repeatedly at Halter, who was painstakingly picking up every single card from the ground. In reply, he simply gave Slater the stink eye. Okay, Halter is a new one, so that's 10 characters. Okay, continued what he was doing. Eros, that's 11 characters, was breathing with laughter in the corner. Kyo was nowhere to be seen, probably in a tree with a book away from the commotion, understandably. And Alicia, that's 12 characters, simply watching the group incredulously as the ridiculous scene unfolded before her. Okay, there are several things I want to mention in this paragraph itself. One, one, two, three, four, five. There are too many people in this paragraph. And secondly, uh, the use of this understandably is a little bit, it sticks out a little bit too much like a sore thumb. And then thirdly, incredulously as the ridiculous scene. Incredulously as the ridiculous scene. Incredulous and ridiculous kind of mean the same thing. So it's like telling me to turn at the turn, something like this. It's not very effective. It looks educated, but it serves no practical purpose, I would say. Uh, how do I? Incredulously as the ridiculous scene. Putting these two things in the same sentence is like telling me it's red and scarlet and crimson at the same time. Like, okay, okay. Um, author might need some work here, but I don't know if they want to leave it as it is. So, however, a stop was soon put to this as a king was launched across the campsite from a location unknown, perfectly aimed at Slater's head, who promptly shut up and began squeaking in pain. Okay, I need to. This is one sentence. I'm just I'm just stating that this is one sentence in a paragraph. However, a stop was soon put to this as the cane was launched across the campsite from a location unknown, perfectly aimed at Slater's head, who promptly shut up and began squeaking in pain. Okay, point number one. Point number two. Point number three. There are 3 points in one sentence. A little bit too much cramming over here. Uh, I I would need to do like a few takes to understand this. So yeah, in this paragraph itself, if I were to film a movie, it's going to be scene number one, Kane launches, sound effects. Scene number two, flies across the campsite. Scene number three, aims at the head. Scene number four, makes connection to the head. Scene number five, guy reacts. So that's like 5 scenes. But in one sentence, a little bit too much. Too much for me. So at least that shut you up for a minute. Slater, you are terrible at Uno. I'm brilliant. Deal with it, came a voice that sounded strangely as though it belonged to Griffin coming from. Is this character number 13? Coming from the vague direction of the cane? It had an odd sense of smugness to it, almost as if the speaker was smiling into his words. Okay, this one I like, was smiling into his words. Yeah, but okay, that's 13 characters in one chapter? Oh yeah, thank you, Griffin. I sincerely appreciate the donation of this nice cane to a needy cause. I always donate to charity. Well, you're a fraud then. How much could I get for suing you? None, because none of us use this. None, because none of us use money, including you. Good night. Good night, and thank you for shutting up. Okay, this part here is a little bit too fast. So, imagine if someone is talking like this. I would want to see a little bit more of their initial reactions to how they actually say this, so I can visualize a very friendly but annoying sibling vibes kind of banter. You could probably give me a little bit more. I want to see like what is going through their minds as they say this. Are they just smiling but actually thinking of murder? That kind of contrast would be nice to see. And then here, none of us use money, including you. I'm just questioning like, where does this come from? What is the story about? Why don't they need money? Money is like, everybody needs money. None of us use money, including you. What? Then where you buy that Uno cards from? Like, just a little bit, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, good night and thank you for shutting up. A lovely hand gesture from Slater was the single response to this before he crawled into his tent and collapsed, falling asleep immediately. Even Halter was beginning to look tired as he stomped back to the center of the camp and chucked the cards into the fire. An unusually satisfying crackle was the only sound that broke the short length of silence that ensued from the sudden and unexpected action. Uh, can I say that this is a little bit redundant? Like filling in words and writing words for the sake of making it sound intelligent, kind of like how you write your reports and essay in university to mind fuck with your professor, but this ain't it. This ain't it. It's it's long-winded and not to the point and completely not adding value to the writing and the story content and the plot progression at all. It sounds good at first glance, but actually it doesn't make much sense. It's confusing and overly ambitious. None of the group that still sat awake dared break the silence. The look on Halter's face was just slightly terrifying, and they didn't particularly want to push him further. WH, no more Uno, thanks, Halter said with a brief smile. He grabbed the blanket from a pile and threw it over and swiftly fell into unconsciousness. Okay, so the chapter is kind of done. But even at the end of the chapter, I still got no clue what's happening, man. Zero clue. No clue whatsoever. What's going on? Who are they? What are they going to do? What's the story about? Why are they doing this? Where are they from? Why don't they need money? But they have Uno cards. And at the same time, they shout in caps lock in the beginning. There's a lot of angry people just vibing in the same house. There are 13 characters whom I briefly know the names of. Don't remember because they have no special I don't know, man, special personality, special things that they do to make me remember them better. No, none of that. None of that at all. I got no clue how to. I just got no clue, man. What do I make of this chapter? What do I think of this chapter? How do I follow this chapter? Like, how do I know what's going to happen next? Should I want to read more after reading this chapter? Is this kind of like a prompt thing? There is no beginning, there is no ending, there is no in the middle. It's just like a, oh, this is a pretty picture. And that's just about it. Like seeing this is just like watching a movie and like, pausing at one very nice thing. Um yeah, I got no clue, man. This is just okay. So according to the beta reading template that I created, which can be seen in how to beta read, so it's available for everyone to use. Okay, so if I were to follow my beta reading template, number one, the pace of the chapter. So example, is this too much action or is it too little content? I'll put it at a 5 for two reasons. One, the content is overloaded, but at the same time insufficient for me to form an opinion to know where this is going. There's no direction in the story, so the pace is kind of fast because I am not invested in anything and it just moves on. But at the same time, the pace is kind of slow because I don't know what's going on. I just go through Uno cards. Oh, and the first one, oh, it's someone coming home during dinner time. That's just about it. First chapter done. Secondly, the start of the chapter. Do I have interest at the start of the chapter? Maybe a little. If I was looking at the first 100 words or so, like maybe 50 words or so, yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's a daily life kind of thing. But if I were to take this check on the starting of the chapter, like in 200 words in over here, I'll probably say the interest starts building up a little bit at Selena, like Selena's introduction over here. She is the most invested character, but to be honest, I don't know who the main character of this story is because there are like 13 characters and everybody seemed to be kind of like taking apart and moving on, taking apart and moving on, and just like basically running in a circle. You don't really know who this story is about. The POVs change too often. There is no consistency. I am very lost. Right, so starting off the chapter from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 as in, oh my god, no please, and 10 as in like, yes, give me more. I will rate it somewhere as a 4 because I don't know what's going on at all. Like, even if I gave it 200 words, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna give this a chance, but there's no guarantee that I'm gonna like this, but I'm still gonna read it since I already started. That's when Selena actually got introduced, but that's about it. Then the ending of the chapter interest. So on a scale of 1 to 10, the chapter ended over here with a open end thing. No more Uno thanks. So no more Uno thanks is ending of the chapter. Does it make me want to read more? Does it make me question like, oh, what's gonna happen in the next chapter? Is this a good cliffhanger? Probably not. So I'll probably rate this on maybe a 3. It's not a very conclusive thing and it leaves me with more questions and frustrations than anything else. It's not a good kind of, oh my god, author, give me the next chapter now. No, it's more like a, okay, it ended. I think it's time to leave kind of ending. So no, I will probably not want to read the next chapter. The ending did not grab my attention at all. Like, sure, there are many characters, but I don't even know if the characters are hot at this rate because I don't know how they look like. I don't even know some of their personalities. They are just names. And names are like, they are very impersonal. I can't feel connected with this, so the ending was a no no. The ability to understand the chapter. So I like to say the ability to understand the chapter comes in a few forms. Basically, the first criteria is the ability to understand the English. So the English, grammatically, it's great. This person is a native English speaker, as you can see for yourself. Like the quality is definitely not the same as you see from web novel. Like a lot of people have English as second language and then they write it there. No, this is like really polished, and they probably read a lot of paperbacks, which is not the same as web novels. Surprisingly, you'll be surprised. So yeah, I can see that it's a little bit more classic literature kind of backgroundish, but at the same time, there's a deadly flaw whereby you try to make it fanciful and lengthen it in a way that's not extremely content value added, which makes me understand this a little less clearly. So, on the scale of 1 to 10, how much am I able to understand this chapter? In terms of plots, I'll say maybe a 2. So, all I understood was someone came home while somebody else was making dinner for the first part of the chapter. And the second part of the chapter, they are having a game of Uno that went toxic. So, that's like the understanding of the chapter. Content wise, character wise, how much did I understand about the characters? Okay, maybe apart from their names, and maybe apart from a little bit more from a character called Selena, nothing. I don't understand the characters at all, what they were doing, why they were doing this. So the ability to understand where this story is going next, the direction of this plot, I'd say it's ranking below 5 as well, because I have no idea what this is about. Not to mention the synopsis gave me no clue. They're like, oh, okay, it's about some people who live together, and then they live in the woods, and then their path cross, and then like they have something going on, and that's just it. It's like, come again? Like, what am I reading again? What am I in for? Am I reading for romance? Am I reading for friendship? Is this gonna be like supernatural? Why don't they need money? Yeah, that part really got me. Like, why don't they need money? Right, so the ability to understand a chapter, probably rated about a 2 or a 3. I can't understand this. The predictability of the chapter, I'll rate it high. I'll rate it on an 8 because I couldn't predict what was coming. I thought, oh, after 6 characters, we'll be done. So these 6 characters I just did. No, lo and behold, 13 characters. I don't know why 13, but 13 characters. And this is just chapter 1. Am I gonna be seeing like another 13 in chapter 2? It's gonna be like 26 chapters overall. You're just in chapter 2. Do I need to know all these people? Are some of these people side characters? I don't know. Predictability of the chapter. Um, okay, the unpredictability of the chapter is an 8. So predictability is very low. It's like I cannot anticipate what is coming next. So first you have dinner, next someone came home, and then after that you have a game of Uno. What is going on? No predictability, no flow, no sense of direction, no direction at all. Cannot understand where this is going. No predictability. So if you are intending to surprise the reader, I think you got me. Right, and then number 6, according to the beta reading format, it's a length of chapter. So length of chapter, if this is gonna be like a web novel or short story series kind of thing, 1,000 words, aka it's about 2-3 pages. This is actually really nice, like just nice. So it could be a little longer, like maybe stretch it by another 200 words. It's fine as well. So the chapter might be a little bit on the shorter side, but I'll say it is enough to get the reader into it. If some of the parts are a little bit more interesting to get my attention and get me invested in it, but otherwise the chapter length is just nice. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how interesting was this chapter? 1 as in dropping this shit right now, and 10 as in give me the next chapter now. Uh, I will not be reading this anymore. So honestly, I'll be putting it at 1. I don't know where the story is going. I don't know what to expect. So I don't want to waste my time when I can be finding new books that I can be reading. That will be very, very, very honest. Not that the English was bad, not that the writer did not have a good concept. It's just the execution that I don't understand, the direction of the story that I cannot foresee, and therefore I'm not going to wait around to see what this is going to be. I'm the kind of reader that needs to know what kind of direction this is going to take and where this is going now before I actually invest my time into reading this. So last but not least, other feedback. Uh, I guess I just did all the other feedback session while I was reading this entire thing. So no other feedback. I'm just very curious on why they don't need money, but that's about it. That's about it. So this is my version of beta reading for someone. So it's like a first read, first take kind of thing. I don't actually know this author. Like they're not my BFF. They're not my online friends. We barely talked. We only found each other on Reddit when I post that thread. Like you're just asking for victims. So yeah, congratulations. You're my number one victim. How'd you like that? It wasn't pretty much of a roast, I think. Am I doing a good job on being bad bitch? Probably not, but yeah. I hope that this stream was helpful slash kind of maybe a little bit entertaining to you. Yeah, so wishing you luck on your work and the sci-fi book that you're currently working on. But honestly, I don't think I'll be doing another beta reading session for any of your other chapters for this particular work because I cannot get invested in this. I don't know the direction of this, and I have no idea the content that you're trying to, like, write in. It just sounds like a pretty bunch of words and character names that sounds fancy. Like maybe the naming sense is better than mine, or hell, yeah, it's better than mine. But like I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe because this is not a very, it's not something of my forte. Or maybe this is a fan fiction of a fandom that I really don't know about. Like hell, does any of these words make sense to anyone? Like bloodline is like a major clue over here. Does anybody know this kind of fandom? I personally don't. So I think I would stop here. Um, that's it for the stream. Does anybody else have questions for me while I'm on stream? I might end this stream and then start a new stream, a silent one with me not talking, just so I can get my last, I don't know, last 5 chapters needed to stock up for April for Ball of Nothing kind of thing, you know? So yeah, any questions? You have 5 seconds. Speak now or forever hold your silence. Five, four, three, two, two, one. Okay, no questions. Okay, thank you for joining. For the author themselves, if they are actually watching this live stream, feedback and stuff like that, feel free to let me know if you want any more details. Otherwise, good job. Good job for being my victim. I hope it was a satisfactory roast. Hopefully, well done. So I will see you guys whenever I see you guys. Random streams are random streams. New streams that are scheduled are on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, 9 p.m. GMT plus 8, where I will go through first reads and hopefully roast my friends this time for Spirity. So thanks for watching. Links are in the YouTube description. Don't forget to stone Godfather's Will. That's my competition entry. With that, I hope to see you guys next time.